Okay, you guys, this is session 4, Manifest System and Remediation Program Updates, and I get to work with all these fine people on a regular basis, so I'm happy they've be able to provide these updates. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Kim Sellards, Branch Chief with CalRecycle's Waste Evaluation and Enforcement Branch, to kind of take it from here. So, thank you, Kim.
Thanks, Kyle. Good afternoon. We are now at the Manifest System and Remediation Program Update session, and our speakers today are Christy Emery and Billy Yos. Christy is the manager of the Waste Tire Enforcement Section at CalRecycle, and Billy Yos is the supervisor of the Waste Tire Hauler Compliance Unit. And they're going to be talking about the Waste Tire Manifest System. Followed with that is Steve Santacroce, and he is going to be talking on the waste tire remediation and cleanups updates. And he is the supervisor of the solid waste and tire cleanup unit at CalRecycle. We're going to continue in the same format where we hold for questions and answers at the end. So we'll get started with Christy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Christy Emery, and very honored to be in front of you all today. I'm going to try using my tablet here for notes. And how do we advance? Oh, there we go. This? Yes. Okay. And then I've got new glasses. So we'll go between different sections. All right, upcoming, just a quick overview of the presentation outline. I'll make a few introductions and we'll talk briefly about actually our waste tire enforcement program and updates, and then we'll move on to the star topic of the presentation, used manifest developments. And we'll cover Senate bills, an overview of e-manifesting options and enforcement during our transition, and database training. So thank you, Kim, for the introductions. Thank you, Billy Yos, for being here. He's my expert lead on the e-manifest transition. And then we'll have Steve close this out. So initially, Sally French invited us to speak, and I was honored, and I thought that's great. Waste tire enforcement hasn't typically presented to this group, and I would like to provide some waste tire enforcement updates. And she said, well, we just really think that you should talk about e-manifesting. I was like, all right. So the star of the show is going to be talking about our e-manifesting transition, which is one of the most significant changes that is happening to waste tire enforcement in a couple of decades. But I do want to touch on waste tire enforcement in a few slides because it's so much of what we do and so important to provide so many industry representatives here with an even playing field when so much work is put into, by many of you, to staying in compliance, and our enforcement helps create an even playing field for all of the individuals in the industry. So the Waste Tire Enforcement Program inspects about a third of its 30,000 regulated facilities statewide every 3 years, meeting 5-year tire plan goals. We work with our local grantee tire enforcement agencies who conduct over 80% of those inspections. And inspections typically result in about 300 notices of violations annually. And while most facilities are found in compliance by the next re-inspection, some investigations are escalated to cleanup and abatement orders or escalate further to penalty cases. Tires cleaned up via CAO has increased in recent years. We are currently working on 14 escalated enforcement cases with our legal team. We are also able to assess penalties to further discourage noncompliance. And now, on to our star topic. SB 1181 was enacted in 2022 with the intent to further enhance the tracking of tires throughout the state and beyond to protect the environment and the public in the state and along our borders, including with the Mexico border region. Oh, I should indulge in some of these slides. There's great pictures here. Can I go back? So this slide highlights our recent movement from paper manifest, and you can see some of our team members here literally with a hand truck moving our paper manifest to our scanning contractor. Our existing process to track all of the tires that are moving throughout the state is through a triplicate paper form. And those triplicate paper forms are mostly provided back to us to a scanning company that hand enters that data and transmits that data into our database system. And that's how we're able to enforce and track that data. Those are two of the, gosh, Amy participated in this well, maybe 15 other hand truckfuls of CTLs that were moved that day to our contractor. And so now we're moving on. Oh, all right. There they are. I'm off with this, like it's got two slides up here. So those two hand truck amounts of paper manifests were about 2 of about 14 that went out that day. Amy also in the back, I'll introduce a little bit more later, we're part of that. And we're moving to a mobile app. We're all much more familiar with mobile apps these days on our phone. So that is what we're looking to for the transition. SB 1181 changed the requirement to submit via paper manifest to allow CalRecycle to collect data in the format needed, which can be requiring in electronic format. The next steps for implementation will require updates to further define how the program will be consistent with the statute and implement requirements needed to transfer effectively to an electronic system. CalRecycle has been exploring handheld in-field electronic options for years, and then we recently got an opportunity to work with the Diversys system and pilot its software. The Diversys system was a software designed specifically to track resource materials originating from extended producer responsibility programs in Canada, and our vendor is here today, Roger Barlow with Diversys, here in the back. CalRecycle and Diversys trained 8 tire haulers to pilot the mobile manifest app in 2022 and early 2023. Participation was free and entirely voluntary and lasted about 6 months in duration. At the conclusion of the pilot, showed that the app is a sufficient and efficient replacement for the manifest, for the paper manifest. Then we were able to enter into a contract with Diversys in 2023. CalRecycle has authorized the following forms of electronic manifest: emailed manifest generated by the Diversys mobile system, which you'll see in a moment, emails manifest generated by registered haulers with approved applications, which we only have about 3 major haulers that have their own system that is approved to submit electronic manifest to the system. And as we've said, we for years have been looking at in-field pilot options, and we are piloting right now emailed manifests from the WTMS system, which is really in its infancy stages right now. The WTMS is our waste tire management system, which is our internal database system. All electronic manifests authorized by CalRecycle will have the following CalRecycle Electronic Data Transfer, or EDT approved logo located on the bottom of the form. As you can see, the Diversys system is a modern, succinct mobile app with 5 easy, simple steps to create a manifest and send it to the client. This slide shows an example of the email manifest that is sent to a pickup or drop-off generator facility. It contains all the same information as our existing paper manifest. And you may be wondering how data gets from the Diversys system to our WTMS system. CalRecycle and the Diversys implementation team have been working on options. Currently, manifest data is uploaded nightly from the Diversys system into WTMS, our waste tire management system. And new hauler or vehicle data is uploaded to the Diversys system as needed. And soon that process will be instantaneous as the CalRecycle IT team and Diversys are working on a real-time data transfer process. After we entered into a contract with Diversys, we started outreach and onboarding to stakeholders in late 2023. Both Diversys and our amazing CalRecycle team have been working diligently this year to reach out to stakeholders and educate all facilities to utilize Diversys. I wanted to take a moment to introduce part of our implementation team here today. We have Billy Yos, who is our expert lead on our eManifest transition. We also have our supervisor team, Mark Umphris, Jacob Sosa, Kyle Emery here as well. We also have our environmental scientist implementation team, Nate Gutierrez, Amy Nelson, and part of our call center team, Maria Bardot and Yara Orozco. Not able to be here, but critical in the implementation as well is David Hill, Dustin Shivo, Joanna Ramirez, and Carla Fontanilla. And our other side of our implementation team, Roger Barlow, as I just introduced, is from Diversys and traveled all the way from Canada here to be with us. So thankful that you're here. And he will keep me legit on anything that I'm saying about the program. And he has helped contribute to some of the graphics here in this presentation. So help keep me honest up here. This is certainly no small task to onboard 1,400 registered haulers that we have throughout the state, and to help our 20,000 facilities understand that they no longer are required to get a piece of paper in the hand when they are having tires picked up or dropped off to comply with manifesting requirements, which we are having struggles with operators that way, because it really makes me happy to know that they want to be in compliance and that they are following the law, and they're very nervous to transition to a system now when they're not getting something in their hand. So that is a huge part of outreach that we're working on right now. We've also been educating our tire enforcement agents to also help us with education and onboarding in the field. Quickly, I'll review some of the steps for the electronic enforcement process. This is a picture of our Cal Air Resources Board partner staff, which we share resources with to conduct camera surveillance for illegal dumping. Oh, have I not been? Oh, I did. Regulations that dictate manifest compliance will remain for 3-year record-keeping requirements, data submittal, and manifesting errors. Haulers and facilities can be cited for violations for these requirements. Generators and end-use facilities must retain an email copy of electronic manifests. Haulers must also retain the email copy of manifest receipts. The Diversys and hauler dashboard is also an acceptable form of retention. When our inspectors go out in the field and compare our WTMS data to manifests required to be kept for record keeping in the field, if there are no manifests in the WTMS system, but a generator has emails, that means that the email is not authorized and it is not going through the WTMS system. This is an example of the Diversys hauler dashboard that can also be used in the field when inspectors are reviewing records for compliance. Registered haulers can also use the app in field to show compliance for carrying manifest during transport. Here is a screenshot highlighted in red of the screen that haulers would use to show compliance of all the transactions that they had conducted throughout the day, and show compliance of manifests for the tires that they're hauling. The browser interface of Diversys allows haulers and CalRecycle to view details about the transactions, including pickup location analysis. That's been a quick overview of our new modern manifesting advancements. If anyone is interested in training, please reach out to the Waste Tire call center get added to future training. Training sessions for haulers are held weekly and onboarding to onboard cohorts in our Diversus system, and training is also available in Spanish. And that concludes my presentation.
Oh, no. I'm actually the pick next. No, you're good.
You're speaking, right?
She is. Great job.
Thank you. And next we have Steve Santacruz.
All right, thank you, and it's a pleasure to speak at your conference. Thank you for having me. So, Christy's talking a lot about tire data collection and that leads to tire enforcement. Okay, let's see here. Figure out where I'm at. Okay, so I'm going to get into my program, the Solid Waste and Tire Cleanup Program. So we're a unique program at CalRecycle. They call us at times the program of last resort. So when everything's falling apart, who can clean up the mess? We work primarily on solid waste sites, so older pre-regulation solid waste sites and illegal dumping. But with this session, we're talking about the authority that we have under PRC, well, it's on the slide, the authority we have to remediate waste tire sites. Part of we are not like a public assistance program, we're a local agency assistance program. So we are either following through on an enforcement action by local government or by state level tire enforcement. So we are public assistance, but to public agencies. So when our program gets engaged, there is a cost recovery requirement, usually in the form of a property lien, where it's on public property or illegal dumping activities, that is usually waived. We are funded through the 5-year tire plan, and there's a section in that plan that describes short-term remediations. Our funding is set at $300,000 per year, and unused funds revert back to the tire fund. As far as I want to talk about the resource, what is it? At CalRecycle in Sacramento, we have 5 technical staff that work on both programs. So part of the time, the tire projects. We have 2 remediation contractors, one in Northern California, one in Southern California, that cover those regions, and half of that money is divided into each contract. We do anywhere, it varies widely, but 1 to 3 tire enforcement sites where it's tires only per year, and we do a lot of other sites where it is solid waste with tires. And how our program can be accessed by public agencies is either an enforcement case through state level tire enforcement or local tire enforcement TEA agencies, local agency code enforcement and versions of code enforcement, public agency requests for illegal dumping on their property, in particular public use recreational properties, or by some version of a solid waste enforcement action where tires are present. So a couple of somewhat recent case studies. NNS Tire Shop. So this was a tire shop that was permitted to have a certain amount of tires on site prior to removing for them for disposal. There was a tire enforcement case managed by Christie's units, state tire enforcement, of violating their permit numerous times for having too many tires on site. We were engaged at the end of that at the completion of that enforcement case to remove the excess tires that they would not, the property owner refused to. We removed approximately 7,500 tires from the site. at a cost of about $72,000, of which was liened on the private property owner. Some photos so things I see all the time, and so you can see, neatly organized tires that were probably their legitimate operation, and then piles and piles and piles on their property. How did it go back? So that's an example of one type of project we work on. Castle Rock State Park was a great project where California State Parks was donated property, which happens with both Fish and Wildlife and state parks. Sometimes very large properties get donated to them, and occasionally they have surprises on them. This one was a state park that had been operating for years, but there was apparently a historic tire stockpile dumping site on the property that was unknown to them and hidden amongst some trees. What I wanted to highlight out of this is actually a little bit older case, but I wanted to bring this one in here, even though it's 10 years old. This was one of our first major projects that the local Conservation Corps was able to provide a lot of assistance with. So other divisions within CalRecycle offer grants to local Conservation Corps units, and those grants have been consistent enough, and utilization of those grants has picked up, that the local Conservation Corps have developed their ability to assist with these projects. So they've hired additional people, provided adequate safety equipment, and they now have stake bed trucks and things to make them a more viable resource. So I wanted to highlight this one for that reason. So that project was completed. We removed 8,000 tires from down a significant slope, probably 500 plus feet below a dirt road, at a cost of $118,000. Some photos. I think the first one is of the nice neat pile when done. The one adjacent to it is what a lot of it looked like, overgrowth, and here are some of the LCC guys stacking the tires for us. We worked this project in tandem with our contractor, so our contractor did a lot of the loading and most of the hauling and disposal, but the LCC did all of the tire collection with manual labor down these steep canyons, and they provide great job opportunities to usually youth at risk type young men. So this is a great program for them to potentially build a career in construction or something related. What we call in the office a Riverdale site, so a private property in Fresno County. The solid waste LEA brought a project to our attention, and for solid waste violations, we did the project in late 2022 and early 2023. This project we also engaged the local Conservation Corps on, and they assisted with quite a bit of the tires. We removed a total of about 2,000 tires from the site, and I'll show you, the photos are spectacular. So this one was $867,000 overall site remediation and about $100,000 in tires. So this is like lessons learned. So this site's about 20 acres. Near the front of the site, the solid waste was about 8 feet deep and scattered towards the back. So like lessons learned, the history of this site, the brief history is an elderly couple owned a ranch type property, agricultural property, 20 acres. They passed away. All of their heirs were in the Bay Area, and the property went unmanaged. And homeless moved in onto the property. One of said homeless people was quite the entrepreneur and got a hold of some contractors and let them know that, for fee, you could dump on this property. So immediately it gets a lot of traffic out of Fresno area from construction contractors and all kinds of demolition contractors. So this incredible volume of material showed up within about 6 to 9 months before the county could really get ahead of it. So it's, lessons learned are, if you inherit a property, manage that property. And also, with you guys in the tire industry, there's some competitors that crop up out of, the woodwork at times. This is a better shot of just the tires. They were largely in one part of the site. Some of the extra costs on this project came out of about 30% of the tires having been burned by the homeless. So they needed to be specially picked up and treated and disposed after they were burned. So more progress photos of us getting the tires into a load-out area to get them off the property. So that's a couple of examples of what we do. We also provide technical assistance on tire sites, waste tire sites. And that a lot of times is in the order of advising local agencies and sometimes property owners on what their options might be to handle the project themselves, or rough ideas of costs so that they can assess what to do next. One of the technical assistance projects we recently had was we were asked to conduct an investigation of illegal dumping activities in the border region on the California side of the border. So we got together with our consultant and some internal folks and came up with a plan for how to best do this. And in 2022, we developed a very detailed survey list of questions. The report is available online, so rather than show a survey list of questions, just refer to page numbers if you're interested in looking. But the survey, I guess the highlights out of it are what facilities you're aware of and what other agencies do you interact with on this topic, so that we could get leads and expand our outreach with the surveys. We ended up surveying over 100 different individuals with 76 entities, and we very intentionally, those entities included public agency landowners and tribes and nonprofits and even community groups all along the border region. We started our list with entities that CalRecycle has worked directly with, either through grants or with some of our projects in the field and cleanup days, roundup days. A lot of our grant projects, local cities and counties are getting smart, and they're including the public and nonprofits to try to help stretch their dollar. So we contacted everybody we knew, which was 40-plus agencies, and at the end, entities, not just agencies. And it ended up expanding to nearly 80 entities within the border region. Out of all of that survey work, we developed a lot of good rapport and contact, and we identified 21 potential illegal tire dump sites. What I mean by potential is off of a phone conversation, so let's go verify them in the field. I guess a terrible graphic for a room like this, but the 21 sites are shown on the map, and we show the border zone. So we were actually given some information on tire sites outside of the border zone, but we focused on the ones within the border zone. The field part of the investigation, I want to just review kind of what we did on one of the sites. So the recon ended up meeting with local agencies who were responsible for a given area, whether it was the landowner or a regulator in the area. And we went out and we walked the entire site and took photos from all different directions to thoroughly document the site, and GPS coordinates and routes in and out. And this is kind of typical of what a lot of the sites look like, is some scattered tires and then a concentration of larger dump sites of a few semi-truckloads or a concentrated activity with some scattered. And the report's available online. Don't have the time to go through all 21 sites, but that's the level of detail that you can see in the report if you take the time to go on. It's on the CalRecycle website. But we in both doing the study and at the conclusion of it, we met with different tire enforcement entities, certainly our own resources, and then with the TEA in the region, and then with some of the bigger landowners that we frequently work with, BLM, et cetera. And we came to the conclusion that we really didn't identify any new and unknown tire sites, that there wasn't already some type of action taking place to eventually remediate that site. But this was an example of a one point in time study that we've done. CalRecycle continues to have a presence in the border region, and we respond to all phone calls and inquiries, and Christie's unit and state parks are very familiar with tire dumping in the border region. But an example of what we do, the publication is available. I don't know how well links come through, but what I wanted to mention is that while there's, in the bigger picture, there's probably a shortage of resource to handle illegal dumping statewide, there are quite a few resources available, and if entities want to take it on, so it's not a hopeless cause. And what I list on here is these are links. I think you can find them on the website better than a link off of this now that I look at it in front of me. But there's resources available where you can look up CalRecycle grants out of both tire grants, and there's loans available. And then my own program, we don't just have contractor resources, we have grant opportunities using the same staff. Our solid waste grants can be used to remediate tire sites, and there is a farm and ranch program that's available for agricultural zoned land. Those grants can be used as well. And I put it very intentionally on my list, the local conservation corps. They've grown to be a significant resource in the state of California. BLM doesn't call us anymore. They have a working relationship with the LCC in the region, and the LCCs, they get partially funded from CalRecycle grant funds, but their resources are available, their labor crews and sometimes hauling and disposal under contract to where you can pay them directly for what they don't have grant funds for. And they've been a tremendous resource to BLM. They don't even call, and the Forest Service specifically uses them heavily, depending on the region. The LCCs are a unique thing in that they're several individual entities. They have different capabilities, and they don't cover all regions of the state, but it is something I'd highly suggest reaching out to for illegal tire dumping. And with that, there's my contact information. And I don't know.
Thanks, Steve. We always like to see those illegally dumped tires cleaned up. And also thanks to Christy and Billy talking about the manifest system. That is, again, 60 million waste tires that move around the state each year. So we're super excited to get that transitioned over from the paper system to the electronic system. And I think we've been working really diligently on that for the last probably 3 years or so. So it's a long time coming, and we're just getting ramped up, and we're really excited about that. So now we're at the questions portion of the presentation. And so if you have any questions in the room, please raise your hand, and they'll bring a microphone to you.
Yes. One question, as you were referring to the, those enforcement and non-compliance as such, is there a program in which either the hauler or the facilities can embrace a supplementary environmental projects, or SEPs, that at the end benefits wherever they are affecting?
I'm going to defer that question to you.
SEPs are something that we are very interested in, and I think Cal EPA has a list that they are working on. I can give you my contact information afterwards if you have some ideas or want to put some information forward.
Is it mandatory that all tire shops, stores that have waste tires register with the CalRecycle program as a hauler or a disposer? And if they are, how do you manage or make sure that they're complying with those rules?
Yeah, if you're hauling more than 9 tires, you have to register with the state and get a hauler registration for the current year. And as far as compliance goes, we have inspectors that inspect facilities throughout California. And if you want to store anything more than 500 tires, you will need to get a permit for that. Yep.
So if you're just a mom and pop, say a mom and pop tire shop, there's nobody regulating what they're doing with their waste tires, is that correct?
We are.
But they're not
TPID.
Right, so every site would need a tire program identification number. So when you set up shop and you're generating tires, you are required by regulation to have a tire program ID. Thank you.
Hi, I just recently became a hauler, maybe about 6-8 months ago. Was doing very little, and a couple compliments actually. One of the questions was driving, can we show that manifest electronically? That was really bugging me. I was like, The other one is the receivers do really have a problem with the email system, and I have been just giving them a paper with it. I don't know if that's going to cause confusion for you guys, but I didn't want to disrupt my employees all at one time, and it's kind of hard. You're in a truck, you're dusty, the supervisor isn't there. If I continue to have problems with them, what would your suggestion be for me to have them understand we are going electronic? That's what you guys told me. Another compliment, it's been very easy. The system you built is, I was hesitant, I'm old school, and then my wife and I did it, and we're like, yeah, so it works out good. But what would you suggest if I continue, I'm not far enough to really make a big deal with these people, but what would you suggest that I do if they don't if they don't accept the new system? I mean, what would you say?
Thank you for those questions, and thank you for those compliments. It has been a lot of work for the team over the last year and a half or so, so thank you. It's very meaningful. Great question, and as you heard me say in the presentation, that is one of our challenges right now, is those facilities, because they want to be in compliance, and so they're just skeptical of accepting an electronic manifest. We have started outreach late in 2023, notifying generator facilities that they can accept this. We need to continue that, so look forward to outreach emails from us, and we're also going to try to do some paper outreach to let facilities know and continue that outreach and education to facilities. And we can also supply those outreach materials to you, so you can take those to your facilities and say, no, really, this is this is an authorized method of transaction. And so you have other documentation from CalRecycle that educates your customers and gives them additional levels of confidence to transition to this new system. Yep, and so look for emails coming out from us and hard copies, and keep calling us and our call center and see if we've got any new outreach materials, and we can provide those to you. So that's kind of our next phase. Right now, we've been on the phones, calling people because emails, we all get a lot of emails, so emails have gotten lost, and we have had a really huge effort as of late to call people and make sure that they're not missing the emails. And so now we're going to move on to our next phases of additional outreach in different forms, different, again, email notifications to generated facilities or hard copies as well, and other ideas as well.
Thanks, Chrissy. And just to piggyback, emails have been a huge problem. So if your customers change their emails or anything like that, just let us know so we can update it on our end. Good.
Thank you.
That's
And
good.
we're open to continued input of the development of the program as well. Thank you.
Christy, if a facility needed additional assurance, could they call the hotline, the tire hotline, and talk to staff to get that further assurance?
Yep, absolutely.
Any other questions in the room?
Yes, I have a question. My name is Noel Davis. I'm grant manager with CalRecycle. Has there been any movement on the illegal dumping of tires that are ending up in the Tijuana Valley estuary? A couple of years ago, we heard that that was occurring. I didn't hear any finality as far as what CalRecycle was doing in collaboration with Mexico to address that issue.
Thank you for that question. I think that we'll have multiple answers here. That is one of the sites that Steve had mentioned that BLM actually now talks directly with the LCCs to assist in picking up. Additionally, San Diego County takes advantage of one of the grants that CalRecycle offers, and San Diego County also in property area where they own also manage some of the illegal dumping in that area. So we have learned over the years, there's many different areas where there's roads that allow illegal dumping in those areas, and they are picked up on a regular basis. And also the Army, I think down there, gosh, I'm going to say the wrong military group, cleans that area, and then tires that are washed into that area are piled up and cleaned on a regular basis. So it happens to be a regular cleanup that is happening of not an enormous amount of tires, but a regular amount of tires. And I'll let Steve address that too, if you've got anything else to add.
No, it's just kind of, state parks is prominent in the, they have basins and barricades to protect the estuary from solid waste, sediment, and tires. And I know we have worked several projects with them, and we worked with them to where they were able to get a standing budget to address the three issues, but tires are a component of it, but tires, trash, and sediment. So we helped them get annual recurring funding to deal with it because it's such a prominent issue in the area.
And you reminded me, just for clarification, some of it is not illegal dumping, but it washes into the estuary from other areas.
Question over here.
Yeah, my name is Jim Horning with West Coast Rubber Recycling. Probably about 10 years, give or take, we invested in a lot of time and effort in developing the electronic data transfer manifesting at our facility. And that's what we predominantly use today. We use the triplicate system only as a backup on the fly. Looking at your slides, is it true that the EDT system that we're using today is part of the future vision you have for electronic transferring or e-manifesting, or is the new handheld device e-manifesting the vision that you have for the future, eliminating the EDT process that we're doing right now?
We are not eliminating the EDT, great question, thank you, and thank you for being here. We're not eliminating the EDT process. Diversus in that this software is allowing us to provide an electronic manifesting, a more modern electronic manifesting system for facilities that may not have been able to do and embark on the program that you have, and about probably 3 or 4 other larger entities in the state have also been able to embark on, such as yourself. So they will be able to move forward in parallel with each other.
Okay, great. And another follow-up question. The information you've been putting out about the e-manifesting, the dashboard, I can see now, this is the first time that I've heard of that terminology, the dashboard for your system. I haven't been through any of the specific training yet, but I do get this question quite a bit from haulers that come to our facility asking about the new e-manifesting, whether it's required, mandatory, if it's being used and whatnot, and I always refer them to contact CalRecycle themselves. But I can see that anyone that receives, let's say, tires, like a facility like ourselves, we would have to have that dashboard available or up on one of our systems somewhere, so we could, if people were going to be e-manifesting to us, we would have to be able to access that. For example, I'm not aware right now off the top of my head if we've had anyone e-manifest to us, not while I've been in the office that I can think of, but if we did, I wouldn't know it because I don't have the dashboard up. I didn't even know that there was the dashboard, that I should be downloading and looking at. Predominantly, all of the manifesting that I see coming to our office is the old style triplicate. So that'd be something that I would probably recommend that needs to be, more information needs to be put out about maybe what the dashboard's all about, what that can do for you, because even if you're not using e-manifesting for hauling, you might actually, like a facility like ours, we would receive some and still need to be able to, present that data, I guess, to an inspector, if an inspector showed up.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I believe what you're referring to is record retention, right?
I'm sorry, say again?
Record retention.
Yeah.
So when an inspector shows up, you got to show your records for the past 3 years, right? So we'll come up with more guidance on that for record retention, especially for generators. If a hauler is going to your site to pick up the tires and they're using diverses, and you're not getting the email, then more than likely, you're not the primary contact. So we'll need to update that on our end to make sure you get that receipt.
Yeah, this would be, in our case, it'd be for a drop-off, because we're a hauler, so, and we're a facility also, so,
Right.
But in our case, most likely it'd be a hauler hauling to us. But, yeah, we would still need that dashboard brought up.
Right, we'll still need to review your records as a generator and a hauler, so both. So if you have email receipts, we will have to look at that as well as a generator.
Right.
Yep.
One last question, I'm sorry. Regarding these different abatements and cleanups, the grant money that's been given out to the various Conservation Corps, we have a working relationship with quite a few different Conservation Corps locations because we've seen the trend, we've seen where the money is going for doing these kind of cleanups, which is something that we do also, in the private sector part of it. Is there any process in place for private entities like us that are doing cleanups, for example, for a living, to apply for grant money for cleanups that with maybe private landowners that we're working with or people who are under abatement orders?
I think our next presentation is about funding that's available. Is that correct, Moose?
Around 4:30? Yes. After the next one, there's going to be a presentation with grants.
So
Okay.
I will refer you to Nick Amante, who may be able to help you with those questions back there.
Yeah, thanks, Christy. Kyle over here. We can make that connection over here with our grants team to try and answer that.
And
See, we have one more question over here.
Add one more thing to the dashboard question. As Billy was explaining, when you receive an email, those are the records that you will be retaining. The haulers, a registered hauler has access to the dashboard. So as a generator or a processor, a receiving facility, you would need to maintain those emails and not on the dashboard, or you would access WTMS. You can also see all of your records in WTMS right now. That is part of the EDT program. You probably already have access to the WTMS system. So when things get emailed to you, it would be retained in your email system. You can create a folder, you can print them out, and that would still be how you retain them. You can also look on WTMS and ensure that you have a record of all of the transactions that you have received via the electronic manifesting process.
Steve Krause with CRM. Christy and Billy, so when a hauler comes to our facility, we currently weigh them in on a truck scale, certified truck scale. How, and typically they fill out their manifest from the pickup location, they have the tire count. How do you guys plan to reconcile the tonnage that we report, because we report everything but from a tonnage standpoint as opposed to a whole tire count?
Complex questions. Great question, Steve, thank you. As you have cited and are aware of, haulers do have to have the manifest with them while they are transporting. They're estimating at times if they do not have a scale when they're picking up, and that would be the amount that they would put into the system at that time to be able to send that manifest to their customer. And then when they come to your facility and drop it off and you weigh them, they would enter that manifest thereupon arrival and enter yours. I think the analysis of that data, we are always working on the reconciliation of that. And our tire market report, let's see, that we've just provided data for there's a lot of analysis and reconciliation that goes into that to try to make them equal. And not make them equal, but justify the pickups and drop-offs. And I will say, upcoming, we hope to develop more modern and current calculation methodologies to help those reconciliations in the future.
Hold on, Steve, 1 second.
So would they report the weight that we provide them, or would they still report their estimated tire count? Because you can have a wide discrepancy between tire count and weight.
We recommend to report what's accurate to them at the time. So if they are making an estimate at the time of pickup, if they don't have a scale, please do that. And then when they are on your scale, they can enter that amount.
I just one more question. That was the last unanswered thing that I had on there was his exact question. So I have a situation where I have a really big wrecking yard, and it just makes a lot more sense for me. Actually, they're under the gun a little bit. I'm trying to help them out, catch up. We determined that because of trucking costs, picking the tires up, bringing them back to my facility, having to do the extra paperwork, sending it out, drop, delivery, or pickup, delivery, we decided to go there, shred the tires, and then deliver them to the landfill. And so I had the same problem, generally trying to determine, what is what before I leave. The tonnage, when I get to the landfill, is very simple. Is there any rough guidance that you guys can provide, or is there any charting on the website that would give me some type of estimate? Because I've tried to do it a million times, and I'm just doing my best. Sometimes, honestly, what I do is I'll have my guy back at the generator's location, my pickup location, and I will get those numbers back to him as soon as possible, and we'll kind of backfill the sheet so that they match, just because I'm kind of at a loss of it. I'm fairly new. But that doesn't seem like a great thing if you're out on the road and your one box is not filled in. So we do go back and do it. I felt that it shows where I'm coming from, what I have, and then I've got a record 2-3 drops in a day. I don't think anyone would question me on it, but is there something that I could look at to rough that out, what the pickup is per weight?
Yeah, do we have? I know we work with those when we're out in the field doing inspections because we have to estimate piles of tires as well. But do we publish that for?
We have like conversion factors.
You do?
We do on our website.
On the website?
Yeah, so I can talk to you after.
Okay, asked and answered. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you for those questions.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Well, thank you to Christy, Billy, and Steve, and I'll turn it back over to Kyle.
All right, everybody, break time. We'll be back here at 3:15. We're going to talk about tire-derived aggregate when we come back. I see that refreshments are out. Those may be lemon bars from this distance, I can't tell, but we'll see you back here at 3:15. Thanks.